Welcome back to Common Farm Flowers. Fabrizio and I are going to have a walk around the garden and look at the things that are going on here which are good for wildlife. In the coming winter months, we're going to have, hopefully, lots of habitat where wildlife can overwinter and do well in the spring. Now, Fabrizio, what have we here?
Well, this is a small amount of standing dead elm. We've got a lot of elm. In fact, the hedges are mostly elm. But we're leaving this standing up because it's a great food source for woodpeckers. If you see that wood, it's just riddled with the larvae of wood-boring beetle.
Oh.
And they provide a great food source for birds. And sometimes you see tree creepers going up and down as well. So that's why we're leaving them, rather than just clearing it all up. It's a great little mini ecosystem. And you can see the brambles coming up, and there might be some places to live at the bottom. So we're leaving it, or even though it will be a pain when it comes down and falls on the fence or whatever, but it's far enough away from the road to be safe.
And so what does an elm look like? Can you show me an elm that's looking good?
Yeah. Let's go this way.
Is this an elm?
This is an elm. This is a I think it's a field elm. I think this is, I could be wrong, I think this actually is Ulmus procera. And
why do elms then, I thought that everything died.
No, the small hedgerow elms, they're fine, they're doing absolutely fine. But as soon as they get to a certain size, like the ones over here, the beetle, which flies at about, 13 feet or whatever, it'll find them and it'll burrow in and it'll bring a fungus which causes Dutch elm disease, and then they'll die. But it won't kill them when they're this size.
But it's so sad though, isn't it? Because you can see behind this stand of dead trees is a really healthy looking elm behind them. But I guess that'll go next summer.
Yeah, it'll go in a few summers' time, because they're all suckering off each other, so they're all the same genetics. So there's very little chance that you'll find some sort of super elm which will be able to defeat the Dutch elm disease. That won't happen.
But it is still worth leaving the standing trees.
Yeah, because they're a great source of food. They're a great little source of nutrition for invertebrates, and thus they're the beginning of the food chain.
Oh, fantastic. So this elm here...
Yeah. Look how big it is. It's only 16 years old.
Is 16 years old. And what, 30 foot high? 40?
It's getting up... Well, no. It's about 25 to 30 feet high.
And it's really well, but
yeah,
it will die.
It will die, but look how big the trunk is.
Yeah, this is a wood, by the way, everybody, that we planted in kind of as we went along. We first came here in 2004, and this is now 2022, and the wood has taken really, really nicely, and has given us huge pleasure, as well as made a really good environment. What kind of birds do you see, Fabrizio?
It's a shame. We just a moment ago we disturbed a tree creeper.
But you could never film them
because they're a bit
too
shy.
fast.
But they're the ones that go up the bark. They spiral up.
Yes.
Unlike the nuthatch, which comes down, I think.
Oh.
I hope I got that right. But going back to this elm here, I think this is a field.
Yes.
Elm. But look how big it is. Just 15, 16
this one.
years. Yeah. And that has suckered from the hedge.
That's
so that
amazing.
Hasn't grown from seed. It's come out by sort of hedging plant.
And so the thing about elms, I know historically the point of growing an elm was that they were enormously tall and majestic plants.
Those beautiful columnar sort of trees, and they put all their branches right at the top.
But when people have them in the hedge and they cut the hedges, they're keeping the elm stock alive.
They are, yeah. We still have a lot of elm, but it's in our hedgerows.
And this is a lovely row of hornbeam that we planted when we first came here, quite close together. Fabrizio's dad helped plant, and I was very much inspired, we were both very much inspired by a row of beech trees at the old Hadspun garden, which had been planted very close together and grew tall and thin, and this has sort of done what that did, and it's just beautiful. It gives us enormous pleasure, and also is a huge cropping crop. I crop enormously from these hornbeam.
In the spring it's beautiful, isn't it, the foliage?
The foliage is absolutely fantastic, and now it's beginning to turn. It's just lovely. I'm very fond of hornbeam.
Can I just show you something else just before you go?
Yes.
Georgie? These piles of wood here, we've been sort of clearing a bit of blackthorn scrub.
Yes.
For our new fence. This is an amazing little habitat for hibernating things like hedgehogs. So that's why I'm leaving them in big mounds. You can imagine something that's going to burrow underneath there and spend the winter.
Oh yes, you can see where somebody might even have gone in already since you made the pile. It's worth having piles of kind of
detritus, things rotting it down. So it looks a bit messy, but you're creating an environment. Whereas if it's too neat and tidy like here, a bit scorched earth, that's not so great, but things will grow back.
They will. Here's another pile of dead wood. And you can see where this is a hole where a woodpecker has been making a hole to get at all the insects. You need dead wood in your garden for beetles to live in, to bore through, and then along come the birds and they eat the beetles.
It's part of the food chain, but the thing about this is that the old school would say, well, you need to clear up dead wood because you'll get sort of things like honey fungus and other fungus which will attack the trees. This is nonsense, okay? You get different types of fungi on dead wood and on living wood. This poses no threat whatsoever to the rest of the trees growing here, and it's part of the natural cycle. So you don't need to clear up. You certainly don't need to burn this stuff. It's a waste of resource.
That's true. Look, also, if you have a border terrier, they will really enjoy joining in. Oh, look at these are wood lice living in here. So they're not a very unusual kind of invertebrate, but they're still a good food source for everybody, aren't they?
Yeah.
You can see how they need the holes and the cracks.
Well, these holes have been made by sort of a longhorn beetle or something like that.
I saw a longhorn beetle last evening in your mum's house. She was very excited. If you have apple trees, while you scrump them as you pass, also do leave some on the ground, because then you will encourage winter birds to come to your garden to eat the apples. And we always have lots and lots of thrushes, winter thrushes, blackbirds, fieldfare, redwing will come along just because we have the apples. Fabrizio takes the seed heads of the wild orchids and hangs them up so that through the winter the wind can disperse them around and increase the population. Look at the colour that this spindle is going. It's fantastic. Come on, TeaCake. Come on. Here's another pile of logs under a willow. And look, this is how you can tell whether somebody's using it or not. You can see there's a dry, clear space in there. I don't want to go too close because I don't want to disturb anybody. But look, that's kept tidy. That's the way in for somebody who lives there. And here, deep in the spinney, is a beehive, which is very much populated by bees. And if I zoom in, you'll see them coming in and out. Never stand in front of a beehive, because, not surprisingly, you get hit by them as they go in and out. But they won't mind if you stand to one side, carefully of course. We don't farm the honey. We just enjoy the fact that we have honeybees working our farm. It seems
These bees here have been here for untouched for well over 10 years. They just come back again and again.
Yeah, they're very happy, aren't they?
They're never treated for varroa, and I think they're starting to learn to live with varroa. I think the less you mess around with these, the better they are.
I completely agree.
But next year, because they're looking so good, I might put some supers on and take a little bit of honey, but only a little bit.
Yeah, I think share and share alike.
A bit of metal down the bottom, that's to stop robbing, but not doesn't really need to be used, I think, at the moment.
Would you put it on in the winter to stop mice coming in and things?
That's what I'll do, yeah.
We had an incredibly hot summer, and I think that's why we are beginning to have absolutely spectacular autumn colour in our brightly coloured trees, which I don't think are normally so bright. But look at these. What are they, Fabrizio? So we've got,
I don't know. I think
there's a field.
They're American pin oak, aren't they? But I'm not sure. I should know this. Sorry.
But aren't they
I
lovely?
think they're American pin oak, but I could be wrong.
Aren't they gorgeous? The colour is amazing. If we were flying over, we would see them. Here's a row of balsam poplar that we planted, I don't know, 2008. And they're incredibly tall. In France, you see these trees grown along the edges of fields, and farmers plant them to pay for their daughters' weddings. Because they're such good straight trees that you can make good furniture with them.
And they're a bit like mile a minute. And shall I show you how I planted them?
How did you plant them?
Well, you just film over there a minute and I'll go and get something.
Oh, a TeaCake?
And I'll come in.
Come in then.
Okay, so this is the these are our balsam poplar, and I think these were first sort of used to make matchsticks or something, but they're a bit like a mile a minute tree because they grow so fast. Our honey smells of these trees because the bees use the sap, the protective sap, over the buds in spring to make their propolis, and the smell is it is very close to balm of Gilead.
So what are you doing here, Fabrizio?
Well, I'm striking this balsam poplar, and this is all you need. Maybe you could have got something which is a bit thicker, up to the thickness of my finger here. And I wouldn't do it now, but I'd do it sort of the end of November up to the beginning of March. And I just snap a piece off like this. This is all you do, okay? Or you get it from a friend or whatever. You don't need to pay for it. You just do this, and you just push it in the ground as far as it will go. And that's it, planted. And then, 16 years later...
No, they don't turn into a border terrier.
16 years later...
They look like this.
They're 50 feet tall, and they look like that.
Isn't that colour fantastic? So thank you very much for following me on my little tour of Common Farm Flowers wild patches. If any of the tips and tricks we've given you have been useful, you can always buy me a coffee. Meanwhile, please subscribe to the channel, press the bell icon, and we'll tell you when we've got new clips coming up. And remember, the coffees really support the making of the channel and encourage me to make more clips. So thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you soon.